Listen carefully, this is not about kindness. This is about survival. There are people in this world who do not want help. They want access, they want leverage, they want your time, your energy, your future, and they want it without consequence. The moment you rush to save the wrong person, you reveal something dangerous about yourself. You announce availability, you announce guilt, you announce weakness dressed up as virtue. Predators recognize that signal instantly. They study who overextends, who explains, who rescues without being asked. They wait, then they take. Here is the rule you were never taught. Power is conserved, not donated. If you give it away, it trains others to treat you as expendable. From this moment, draw the line. Decide who deserves your strength and who never will. If you feel this truth, comment, "I protect my power." This lesson will harden you, sharpen you, and make you untouchable. Remember, this channel exists to strip illusions, not comfort weakness. Stay alert, stay disciplined, and never confuse mercy with obligation, because the world rewards those who choose themselves before they are consumed by others, every single time. This is your first warning. Listen and remember it forever. Number 2. Why saving the wrong people destroys power. Understand this now, because most men learn it too late. The world is not moved by good intentions. It is moved by leverage. When you step in to help the wrong people, you are not being noble, you are being predictable. Dark psychology teaches a simple pattern. Those who constantly need saving are often invested in staying broken. Their chaos gives them attention, excuses, and control. The moment you help them, you step into their story and surrender your position. They begin to see you not as an equal, but as a resource. They return not with gratitude, but with entitlement. Every favor becomes an expectation. Every sacrifice becomes a debt you will never be repaid. Machiavelli understood this cold truth. Men respect boundaries, not generosity. When you remove consequences from someone's life, you remove their reason to grow. You weaken them, and you weaken yourself. Masculine Stoicism demands restraint, not impulse. Real strength knows when to stand still and let others face the weight of their own choices. If someone repeatedly creates fires and waits for you to bring water, they are not unlucky, they are strategic. They survive by outsourcing responsibility. And the more you rescue them, the more invisible your own needs become. You start explaining, you start justifying, you start shrinking. Power psychology is ruthless here. People value what costs them something. If your time, energy, and loyalty cost nothing, they mean nothing. This is why untouchable men are selective. They observe before they act. They test before they trust. They do not confuse empathy with self-betrayal. Helping the wrong people doesn't make you strong, it makes you useful. And useful men are replaced the moment they are drained. From this point forward, you must treat your help as a weapon, not a reflex. Give it only where respect already exists. Give it only where effort is visible. Give it only where loyalty has been proven. Otherwise, withdraw without guilt and without explanation. Silence is not cruelty, it is discipline. If this hit you, comment, "I choose discipline over guilt." Number 3. The trap of permanent dependence. There is a specific type of person you must never save, and it is the one who turns your help into a permanent position. These people do not collapse loudly, they collapse strategically. They speak in half confessions, in stories of bad luck, in endless explanations that always end with the same conclusion: someone else must intervene. When you step in, you believe you are helping them stand. In reality, you are teaching them to lean harder. Machiavellian realism exposes this pattern without mercy. Dependence is not accidental, it is cultivated. Once someone realizes that your presence reduces the consequences of their decisions, they will unconsciously or deliberately continue making those decisions. Why wouldn't they? You have made yourself the safety net, and safety nets remove fear. Fear is the engine of growth. Without it, men rot in comfort. Dark psychology reveals something uncomfortable. Many people resent the very person who saves them because your strength highlights their weakness. That resentment does not explode immediately. It ferments. It becomes passive aggression. It becomes subtle disrespect. It becomes entitlement disguised as familiarity. Masculine stoicism demands that you see this early and cut it cleanly. You are not obligated to carry people who refuse to carry themselves. Power psychology is clear here. The man who is always available is rarely respected. The man who is selective becomes magnetic. Every time you hesitate to withdraw help out of guilt, ask yourself this question: has this person changed their behavior or only their excuses? If the pattern remains, your involvement is not compassion, it is participation. And participation makes you complicit in your own erosion. Untouchable men do not argue about boundaries. They enforce them through absence. They do not announce their withdrawals. They execute them. Silence is their signal. Distance is their message. The moment you stop rescuing, the relationship reveals its true nature. Either respect emerges or the connection dies. Both outcomes are wins. Remember this: your time is not neutral currency. It is your life, converted into minutes. Spend it recklessly, and you will wake up surrounded by people who survived because of you, but would never stand for you. That is the final insult. So you must become ruthless with patterns, not people. You must detach from outcomes that are not yours to carry. You must let adults feel the full weight of their choices, even when it makes you uncomfortable. Comfort is expensive. Discipline is cheaper. And in the long run, discipline is power. If this resonates with you, comment, "I withdraw my power wisely." Number 4. The habitual victim who feeds on attention. Another type you must never save is the habitual victim, the one who wraps weakness in morality and pain in performance. This person does not want solutions. They want witnesses. They survive by telling the same story with new villains, rotating faces while keeping the script intact. When you listen too long, when you help too often, you become part of their theater. Dark psychology exposes this clearly. Attention reinforces identity. If someone is rewarded for being broken, they will protect their brokenness at all costs. Every time you comfort them without demanding change, you validate their role. You confirm that suffering is their currency and you are willing to pay. Machiavellian realism is ruthless here because it understands something most men fear to admit. Pity is a form of power exchange, and it almost always flows upward to the victim. They gain moral superiority. You gain exhaustion. Masculine stoicism rejects this imbalance. A strong man does not drown in other people's emotions. He observes them. He measures patterns. He decides where his presence produces growth and where it only produces dependence. Victim-minded people will drain you through endless conversations, emotional emergencies, and crises that somehow never resolve. They will call it bonding. It is not bonding, it is extraction. Power psychology teaches that emotional access is more valuable than money. Once someone has it without earning it, they feel entitled to it. They begin to test how far they can go. They interrupt your focus. They guilt you for silence. They frame your boundaries as cruelty. This is where most men fail. They explain, they defend, they over-justify, and in doing so, they surrender frame control. Untouchable men do not argue with narratives designed to trap them. They step out of the story entirely. They understand that not every cry is a call for help. Some are bait. When you stop reacting, the mask slips. Either the victim adapts and grows, or they move on to someone weaker. Both outcomes protect you. Remember this rule. If someone's problems increase in proportion to your involvement, you are not helping, you are enabling. You must learn to tolerate being misunderstood. Strength is lonely at first because it removes you from emotional marketplaces where weakness is traded for attention. Discipline requires you to walk away without applause, without closure, without the illusion of being the good guy. But in that silence, something powerful happens. Your mind clears, your energy returns, your standards rise. You begin to see who respects you without needing you to bleed for them. That is when authority forms. That is when people adjust their behavior around you instead of leaning on you. This channel exists to build that internal authority, not to comfort fragility. If this message cut through you, comment, I refuse emotional exploitation. Number 5. The disloyal opportunist who leaves when you need them. Another category you must never save is the chronically disloyal opportunist, the person who smiles while benefiting from you and disappears the moment loyalty is required. This type is dangerous because they rarely look dangerous. They present themselves as friends, partners, even family. They agree with you, they praise you, they absorb your help quietly. But watch closely. When the balance shifts, when you need support, silence replaces enthusiasm. Machiavellian realism exposes this pattern without emotion. People reveal their true alignment when helping you costs them something. Opportunists stay close to power, not principles. They attach themselves to momentum, not character. When you save them, you elevate their position. When you elevate their position, they gain options. And once they have options, they no longer need you. Dark psychology explains why this betrayal feels sudden. It is not sudden at all. It was delayed. They were never loyal, they were patient. Masculine Stoicism requires you to evaluate actions, not words. Loyalty is behavior under pressure, not comfort during abundance. If someone only shows up when you are strong, useful, or winning, they are not aligned with you, they are feeding off you. Power psychology teaches that help given to the disloyal strengthens your enemies indirectly. You are training someone who will eventually compete against you, abandon you, or undermine you quietly. And the most dangerous part is this: when they leave, they carry your secrets, your strategies, your vulnerabilities. You gave them access without vetting their spine. Untouchable men do not confuse familiarity with allegiance. They test loyalty in small ways before offering real support. They observe who stays when there is nothing to gain. They notice who respects boundaries without resentment. They understand that selective generosity is not cruelty, it is intelligence. Every time you feel tempted to help someone who has never stood for you, ask yourself this cold question: would this person sacrifice anything for me or only consume what I offer? If the answer is unclear, the answer is no. Clarity is power. Indecision is leakage. Another hard truth Machiavelli understood is that betrayal often comes from proximity, not opposition. Strangers cannot hurt you the way insiders can. That is why you must be ruthless with access. Your life, your time, your mindset are not community property. When you stop saving opportunists, something interesting happens. The noise around you decreases. Favors stop being requested. Entitlement evaporates. You begin to attract people who respect strength instead of exploiting it. This shift will feel uncomfortable at first because it requires you to let go of the illusion that being needed equals being valued. It does not. Being respected is quieter, colder, and infinitely more powerful. You must accept that some people will label you selfish when you withdraw support. Let them. Labels are weapons used by those who lost access. Silence is your counter. Distance is your defense. Discipline is your identity. This channel exists to build men who cannot be used, manipulated, or drained. And that begins the moment you stop rescuing those who would never rescue you. If this message locked something into place inside you, comment, "I reward loyalty, not convenience." Number 6. The covert saboteur hiding in your circle. Another type you must never save is the covert saboteur, the one who smiles close and cuts quietly. This person does not attack you openly because open enemies are easy to identify. Instead, they stay near you long enough to study you. They learn your habits, your insecurities, your ambitions. They listen carefully, not to understand you, but to collect material. Dark psychology exposes this pattern clearly. Proximity is the most efficient weapon. When you help a covert saboteur, you give them two things they crave: access and credibility. Your support validates them. Your protection shields them. Your reputation covers their intent. Machiavellian realism does not soften this truth. Some people do not want to rise with you. They want to rise through you. They will never challenge you directly because they benefit from your shadow. Instead, they undermine subtly. They question your decisions out of concern. They leak doubts disguised as jokes. They plant hesitation in others while pretending loyalty to your face. Masculine Stoicism demands that you remain emotionally neutral enough to detect this early. Saboteurs rely on emotional reactions. They provoke confusion, not conflict. They want you explaining yourself, overthinking, second-guessing your instincts. The moment you begin justifying your strength to someone beneath you, your authority erodes. Power psychology teaches that influence flows from certainty. Saboteurs exist to dilute certainty. When you save them, you invite uncertainty into your inner circle. You teach them that your boundaries are flexible, that your standards can be negotiated, that your vigilance sleeps when empathy is triggered. Untouchable men do not mistake closeness for trust. They understand that not everyone near you is for you. They test alignment over time. They notice inconsistencies. They watch how people speak about others in their absence, because that is how they will speak about you. A covert saboteur always reveals themselves eventually, but only if you are quiet enough to observe instead of react. This is where most men fail. They rush to clarify misunderstandings. They confront emotionally. They expose their hand too early. And in doing so, they give the saboteur exactly what they want: confirmation that their tactics are working. Machiavellian discipline demands a colder approach. You reduce access. You limit information. You stop explaining. You let silence apply pressure. Watch what happens when you no longer feed them reactions. Either they correct themselves or they expose themselves. Both outcomes protect you. Remember this: help given without discernment becomes self-sabotage. You cannot afford to lift someone who is quietly loosening your foundation. Strength is not loud, it is consistent. Authority is not proven through confrontation, it is proven through stability. When you stop saving saboteurs, your environment stabilizes. Conversations become cleaner, energy returns to your work. Your intuition sharpens because it is no longer clouded by emotional noise. People around you adjust. Some leave, some fall silent, some reveal resentment. Let it happen. That is the cost of clarity. This channel exists to train men to operate above manipulation, above guilt, above emotional traps. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be unmovable. The Ruthless lesson is simple but non-negotiable. Access to you must be earned repeatedly, not granted once. Help must be strategic, not reflexive. Silence must be embraced, not feared. When you internalize this, you stop bleeding energy into people who secretly benefit from your confusion. You become harder to read, harder to influence, harder to undermine. That is when real power settles in. If this message sharpened your awareness, comment, "I control access to me." Number 7. The reckless destroyer who lives in chaos. Another type you must never save is the reckless destroyer, the person who lives in permanent urgency and drags everyone nearby into unnecessary chaos. This individual mistakes intensity for purpose and drama for direction. Their life is a sequence of emergencies, and each crisis is framed as unavoidable, accidental, or caused by someone else. Dark psychology reveals the trap here. Urgency bypasses logic. When someone constantly presents fires that must be put out now, they hijack your nervous system. They rush you into decisions, favors, sacrifices, and compromises you would never make from a calm position. Machiavellian realism is merciless about this pattern. Chaos is not random, it is a lifestyle choice. And when you repeatedly save someone from their own recklessness, you are not protecting them from disaster, you are funding it. Masculine Stoicism demands that you separate compassion from participation. You are allowed to care without inserting yourself into someone else's storm. Reckless destroyers do not respect stability because stability exposes their lack of control. They are uncomfortable around discipline, consistency, and long-term thinking. That is why they gravitate toward people with structure and strength. You represent order, they represent disorder, and disorder always wants to borrow order without becoming it. Power psychology teaches that emotional volatility is contagious. Stay too close to it, and your own clarity begins to fracture. Your routines break. Your focus weakens, your standards slip. Slowly, you become reactive instead of strategic. That is the real damage, not the favors you give, but the mindset you lose. Untouchable men do not allow other people's urgency to rewrite their priorities. They understand that not every emergency is theirs. They measure patterns, not promises. If someone's life remains unstable, no matter how much help they receive, the problem is not lack of support, it is lack of discipline. And discipline cannot be gifted. It must be chosen. The reckless destroyer will resent you the moment you stop rescuing them. They will accuse you of abandonment, coldness, betrayal. These accusations are weapons designed to pull you back into the cycle. Do not defend yourself. Defense implies guilt. Silence implies strength. When you withdraw, something revealing happens. Either they take responsibility and stabilize, or they escalate their chaos elsewhere. Both outcomes free you. Machiavelli understood that leaders fall not because they lack strength, but because they tolerate disorder too close to the center. You must treat your inner circle like a fortress, not a shelter. Fortresses protect value, shelters absorb damage. If you turn your life into a shelter for reckless people, do not be surprised when everything starts to feel heavy. Masculine stoicism is not emotional numbness, it is emotional mastery. It allows you to feel without being dragged. It allows you to observe without reacting. It allows you to walk away without explaining. That last part is crucial. Explanations are oxygen for chaos. The more you explain, the more the destroyer argues, negotiates, manipulates. Authority is quiet. It is demonstrated through consistency, not conversation. When you stop saving reckless people, your life slows down in the best way. Your decisions become deliberate, your sleep improves, your work sharpens. You regain the mental space required to build something meaningful. And people begin to treat you differently. They approach you with preparation instead of panic. They respect your time because you no longer donate it to disorder. This is not cruelty. This is self-preservation at the highest level. The ruthless life lesson is clear. Anyone who repeatedly turns their poor decisions into your responsibility is not a companion, they are a liability. And liabilities must be cut, not carried. If this truth landed where it needed to, comment, I refuse to carry chaos. Number 8. The entitled dependent who feels owed your strength. Another type you must never save is the entitled dependent, the person who believes your strength exists to serve their comfort. This individual does not ask for help with humility, they assume it. They speak as if your time is available by default, your energy is owed, your presence is guaranteed. Dark psychology reveals why this dynamic forms. Entitlement grows where boundaries are weak. The first time you help them, they appreciate it. The second time, they expect it. The third time, they resent you if it is not delivered on demand. Machiavellian realism strips away the illusion here. Dependence mixed with entitlement is one of the most corrosive forces in human relationships. It transforms generosity into obligation and respect into irritation. Masculine stoicism demands that you recognize this shift early before it becomes your permanent role. The entitled dependent does not see you as an ally, they see you as infrastructure, something that should function quietly in the background of their life, absorbing pressure so they do not have to. Power psychology explains why this is dangerous. Once someone internalizes the idea that you will always step in, they stop planning, stop preparing, stop taking responsibility. Your reliability becomes the reason for their irresponsibility. And when you finally withdraw, they do not reflect. They explode. They accuse you of changing. They claim you have become cold, selfish, distant. In reality, you have become conscious. Untouchable men understand that entitlement is not cured through conversation. It is cured through absence. You cannot negotiate someone out of a mindset that benefits them. You can only remove the benefit. This is where most men collapse. They feel guilt. They remember the early gratitude. They fear being seen as the villain. And so they stay, slowly resenting the very person they continue to help. That resentment leaks into tone, into body language, into patience. The relationship rots from the inside. Machiavelli warned that prolonged resentment weakens authority more than open conflict. When you feel yourself becoming irritated by someone's needs, that is not a sign you are cruel. It is a signal that a boundary has been violated too many times. Masculine Stoicism teaches you to respect that signal, not suppress it. The entitled dependent will test you in subtle ways. They will delay their requests until inconvenient moments. They will frame their needs as urgent. They will compare you to who you used to be. This is psychological pressure, not coincidence. Power psychology teaches that comparison is a manipulation tool. It is designed to pull you back into a role you have outgrown. Do not explain your evolution. Evolution does not ask permission. When you stop saving entitled people, you reclaim something essential: self-respect. And self-respect changes everything. Your posture shifts, your voice steadies, your decisions become cleaner. People feel it even if they cannot articulate it. They begin to approach you differently, with preparation, with clarity, with respect. Those who cannot adapt fall away. Let them. Relationships that survive boundaries are the only ones worth keeping. This channel exists to teach you that being needed is cheap, being respected is rare, and being untouchable requires you to choose respect every time. The Ruthless lesson is simple but unforgiving. If someone feels entitled to your sacrifice, they do not value you, they consume you, and consumption is never satisfied. It only grows. You must learn to walk away without anger, without speeches, without justification. Silence is the cleanest exit. Distance is the strongest statement. Discipline is the identity you are building here. If this message clarified something you have been avoiding, comment, "I owe no one my strength." Number 9. The moral blackmailer who uses guilt as a weapon. Another type you must never save is the moral blackmailer, the one who uses goodness as a weapon and virtue as a leash. This person does not demand openly, they imply. They do not threaten directly. They suggest disappointment, sadness, or moral superiority if you refuse. Dark psychology exposes this clearly. Guilt is one of the most effective tools of control because it disguises coercion as conscience. Moral blackmailers frame themselves as ethical, sensitive, or just trying to do the right thing, while quietly pressuring you to act against your own interests. They remind you of your past help. They reference your values. They hint at how a good man would behave. Machiavellian realism cuts through the performance. Anyone who must shame you into helping does not respect you. They are not appealing to your strength. They are exploiting your identity. Masculine Stoicism demands immunity to this tactic. A man who is ruled by guilt is ruled by others. Power psychology teaches that the moment someone can control your self-image, they can control your actions. Moral blackmailers understand this instinctively. They attach their needs to your sense of honor, your reputation, your self-concept. When you save them once, they learn your trigger. Next time, they pull harder. They escalate emotionally. They imply betrayal. They paint you as cold or selfish for choosing yourself. And here is the ruthless truth. They will never stop because your compliance confirms their strategy. Untouchable men do not outsource their moral compass. They decide their principles privately and act on them quietly. They do not perform goodness for approval. They do not explain themselves to manipulators hiding behind virtue. When you feel pressured to help in order to avoid looking bad, pause. That pressure is the evidence. Real requests allow refusal. Manipulative ones punish it. Machiavelli understood that those who cloak control in morality are often the most dangerous because they operate above suspicion. They appear righteous while draining you dry. Masculine Stoicism teaches you to separate empathy from obedience. You can understand someone's pain without volunteering to carry it. You can acknowledge their situation without sacrificing your future. Power psychology reminds you that every yes made under guilt weakens your authority. Over time, you stop trusting yourself, you hesitate, you overthink, you become reactive. That is the hidden cost. Moral blackmail does not just steal your time, it erodes your inner command. When you finally resist, the backlash reveals everything. The disappointment becomes anger. The sadness becomes accusation. The virtue collapses into entitlement. Let it. That collapse is clarity. Untouchable men do not chase clarity through conversation. They allow behavior to reveal it. They withdraw access. They stop justifying. They let silence do the work. And something powerful happens when you refuse to be guilt-controlled. Your decisions feel cleaner. Your energy stabilizes. Your respect for yourself solidifies. Others sense it. They approach you differently, with honesty instead of pressure, with preparation instead of manipulation. This channel exists to build that internal sovereignty, to teach you that strength without boundaries becomes servitude, and morality without discipline becomes a trap. The ruthless life lesson is this: anyone who needs to shame you into helping is not aligned with you, they are managing you. And no man becomes powerful by allowing himself to be managed emotionally. You must be willing to be misunderstood by those who benefited from your weakness. That is the price of becoming untouchable. If this lesson exposed a pattern you recognize, comment, "I choose principle over guilt." Number 10. The self-destructive egoist you must let fall. The final type you must never save is the self-destructive egoist, the person who repeatedly sabotages their own life and expects your strength to absorb the consequences. This individual is not ignorant. They are aware. They know exactly which habits destroy them, which decisions keep them stuck, which behaviors ruin their relationships and futures, and yet they repeat them confidently, almost defiantly. Dark psychology explains why this type is so dangerous to help. Self-destruction mixed with ego creates immunity to advice and addiction to rescue. They listen just enough to appear open, but never enough to change. Machiavellian realism is uncompromising here. When someone refuses responsibility but demands support, they are not seeking growth. They are seeking insulation. They want protection from pain without discipline, recovery without sacrifice, outcomes without effort. Masculine Stoicism rejects this exchange entirely. A man cannot build authority while financing someone else's downfall. Power psychology teaches that repeated rescue rewires behavior. If failure never fully lands, lessons are never learned. Every time you soften the impact of their bad choices, you extend the life of those choices, and eventually, their collapse begins to stain you. Your name becomes associated with their instability. Your time becomes entangled with their crises. Your energy is consumed managing damage you did not cause. Untouchable men understand this hard truth. Not everyone who is drowning wants to swim. Some want an audience. Some want a raft they can burn through. Some want someone to blame when nothing changes. The self-destructive egoist will resent you when your help stops working. They will accuse you of betrayal when your patience runs out. They will say you gave up when in reality you stopped enabling. Do not internalize that noise. That noise is the sound of entitlement colliding with reality. Machiavelli understood that a man who ties his fate to unstable people eventually inherits their instability. This is why discipline demands separation, not intervention. You are not here to save people from themselves. You are here to build a life that cannot be pulled apart by other people's refusal to grow. When you finally step back, something revealing happens. Either the person confronts themselves or they spiral harder. Both outcomes were inevitable, with or without you. The difference is that now you are no longer collateral damage. Masculine Stoicism requires you to accept that walking away does not make you cruel, it makes you precise. Precision is power. It allows you to invest your strength where it compounds, not where it disappears. This channel exists to forge that precision, to teach you that the strongest men are not the ones who save everyone, but the ones who know exactly who not to save. The ruthless life lesson is complete. If someone repeatedly destroys themselves and expects you to carry the cost, the only winning move is withdrawal. You owe no one your future. If this final lesson sealed the code for you, comment, "I no longer rescue self-destruction."